In today's video, we're going to look at 5 non-coding tech careers that you should consider if you're trying to break into tech. They are career paths that have been often underestimated but are very, very important in tech and can get you into the tech industry, maybe with some little training or some little upgrade over your existing skills. So if this looks like something that you're interested in, stick around and I'll be right back. Like I said earlier, we're looking at 5 non-coding tech skills that can get you into the exciting world of IT. And I'd like for you to click on the subscribe button so that you can get more and more of my content. I usually post about things that can help you to grow in terms of your career, in terms of your business, in terms of your academics. So whether it's educational development or career development or business development, this is the channel for you. Click on that subscribe button, and for this video, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think. It helps to keep me encouraged and it helps to keep me posting. So let's go right into the 5. The first one that we're going to look at is UI design. UI means user interface design. And then the second one we're going to look at is UX design. UX design means user experience design. So I listed the two of them up front because I'm going to be explaining both together. They are not the same thing. In case you've been hearing about UI, UX design, it's not really talking about the same thing. They are, however, very similar. For a number of organizations, especially the smaller ones, you have the same person or the same people being both the UI designers and the UX designers. However, that said, they are still very different things. So what does a UI designer do? Well, look at it this way. I have a daughter. She's 4 going on 5 years old, and she loves playing games on my phone. One of the games that she loves playing is some form of racing game, something like a car race game. And anytime she takes hold of my phone, she continues playing that game. She is very engrossed in it, and she has become quite good at it. I often find it annoying because many times I simply want to use my phone. And for a girl of that age, getting the phone back from her can be very difficult because she would be engrossed in the game that she's playing. So one day I went over to Lagos and then I came across this game. So when I was in secondary school several years ago, we had this device which was known as we just called it the brick game. But then it had several games that you could play as part of that device. And I came across one of those game devices when I was visiting Lagos. So I was excited because I knew that there was a car race game there and it was very similar to the one that my daughter loved playing on my phone. So I bought that device for her, that finally she would let go of my phone and she would be able to focus on her own dedicated game box, right? When I got home, I gave her the game box, put it on the specific game that she loved playing on my phone, and I was expecting that she was going to be engrossed just like she was on my phone. But would you believe that after trying it out for more than 30 minutes, she could not figure how to play the game? I found that to be quite strange because it was basically the same game she was playing on my phone. So why couldn't she get it on the game box? And later it finally occurred to me that this game device was based on a technology that was at least 20 years old. It was something that we were using, that we were enjoying when we were in secondary school. But my phone is a much more recent technology, maybe at best 1 or 2 years old. The key difference, however, because it's the same game, it's the same way more or less of playing it, the key difference, however, was that in reality, in today's age, there is much more attention to user interface design. And so my phone has been designed in a way that a 4-year-old girl can pick up the phone and without any instruction, she knows what to do, she knows when to swipe, she knows how to get to the specific game that she wants, and she knows how to play it. It is intuitive. But then the game from 20 years ago would require much more maturity because it wasn't designed to be as intuitive as the game that she was playing on my phone. So the devices were designed differently. One had a better user interface than the other. I'm sure that from that example, you know what user interface design is. In user interface design, you're striving to be able to create designs maybe for apps or for websites or things like that. And you're trying to make sure that those designs are as intuitive as possible. You want your potential user to be able to recognize the necessary features, to know exactly what to do just by picking up the device and making use of your app. So that's user interface design, and you will see it's a very interesting, very exciting part of design. It goes beyond just designing graphics. It requires an understanding of how the graphics fit into the ways that people think, how human-computer interaction happens. For UI design, if you have skills in graphic design, that might be a good point to start from, and you might be able to then improve on that to go on to actual UI design. There are certain tools that can be very useful, tools like Sketch, like Figma. Those are tools that can be used for UI design. Now, the second one, which like I said is very similar to that, is user experience design. So user experience design has to do with how well you are able to make the use of your app or your website seamless, how frustration-free the use of that application is. And so if you look at a lot of Apple products, the iPhone and many of the apps that were designed for it, you'll see that generally speaking, they have better UI, better UX designs than a lot of the other apps on the market. And that might explain why many people are crazy about Apple products, although I would also admit that those differences are beginning to thin out now, because most companies are now paying a lot of attention to their UI designs and the experiences that the users have when using their products. So for someone who's into UX design, you might be dealing a lot with things like wireframes, with the creation of prototypes, because remember, the goal is to make sure that you have a seamless experience. So you have to go through each of the different points, each of the different things that will happen when a customer interacts with an app, for instance. After touching a button on the screen, what's going to happen next? And then from that point, what would happen next? Does he swipe? How does he know exactly what to do next? And how does he have the best possible experience with the lowest possible number of clicks or with the least possible amount of clumsiness? I would say that understanding how human beings think, understanding the psychology of human beings and the thought process would be a very essential skill for someone who wants to be a UX designer. So if you see yourself as someone who can understand human thinking and who can use that to aid human-computer interaction, you can always garner the additional skills required to become a UX designer. So if you're interested in building a career in UX design, I would recommend that you visit globalquals.com. Like you might have known by now if you're following this channel, globalquals.com is one of our websites at TWIM Institute, and it's a website through which we provide online training on some of the specific fields in tech. So we have a foundation certificate in user experience design, and the best part is that foundation certificate course is tied to a certification from BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, which is otherwise known as the British Computer Society. So when you train with globalquals.com, you not only get the knowledge, but you also get a well-accepted certification for it. The third one that we're going to look at is technical communication. Technical communication. This is one that gets me excited. It gets me excited because I think it is one of the most underestimated career paths you can follow in information technology. You see, it's very simple. Software developers write software. So people code, people do all sorts of things in the information technology value chain. But there is one very important role that is often ignored, and that is the role of writing the user manuals, the role of explaining what needs to be done to users. You see, the typical coder cannot do that kind of documentation many times because coders are very boring people. Okay, don't say I said so, but what I mean to say is that the art of communication many times is not exactly one of the skill sets that you might have in a typical software developer. So you might want somebody who has owned that skill of communicating. And technical communication can be in different forms. So there is technical writing, which has to do with, written communication. So writing maybe the user manuals and other forms of documentation for your IT company. It can also be video communication. So you would observe that for a lot of softwares, for a lot of apps, there are video guides, and those video guides are often available maybe on platforms like YouTube or Vimeo so that the users can know exactly what to do. Some of them also serve as marketing videos. So for all these things, you need people who can interpret in maybe written form or in video form, who can interpret what the developer has done and turn it into forms that regular users can understand. So these are technical communicators. It's a very important role. There is a lot of demand for it. If you want to become a technical communicator, I would recommend that field because you might already have skills in communication. Maybe you're a good writer, or you're a good speaker, a good presenter, or you have great video production skills. Those are already skills that you can upgrade into technical communication. So you might want to take a course such as the Certified Technical Communicator course. It comes with a certification from the Society for Technical Communication. And you can take that course with us again. You can take it with us at globalquals.com. So please check on the website for that course as well. Number 4 is business analysis. Business analysis. So who is a business analyst? Business analysts are typically people who are somewhere in between the business side of the organization and the technical side of it. So basically, a business analyst would find out the requirements for the different things that need to get done, maybe a new software or a new project or whatever it is. The business analyst has the role of determining what the actual requirements are and then helping to translate those requirements into the final product. The business analyst is not the one responsible for the final product, but the business analyst would ensure that the requirements are properly communicated to the people who are going to create the product. So the business analyst is kind of like a bridge, and what that implies is that a business analyst has to be in touch with the system's development life cycle. The business analyst has to be someone who can, as it were, oversee that cycle and ensure that what is being developed passes through all the right stages to ensure that at the end of the day, there is a good product that moves the business forward. So business analysts perform different types of roles, from analyzing existing products and processes to ensure that they meet up with the requirements of the organization, to seeing what needs to be done. to improve the processes and the products. So you find business analysts working with data, working with people, such as developers, such as the product owners, such as the management, and the other people in the development chain. So if you would like to be a business analyst, I would say that one of the most crucial things that you should look out for is, are you analytical? Are you by nature analytical? Because business analysis requires a lot of analysis, just like it sounds. You have to be someone who's analytical by nature. You have to be somebody who's a good communicator, because you would have to communicate with teams of software developers, the management, product owners. So you have to communicate. Sometimes you have to communicate with external organizations. Maybe the product involves outsourcing. You might have to communicate with people who are outside your own country, people maybe in different time zones, people from maybe completely different cultures. So communication is very crucial for a business analyst. A business analyst should also be somebody with some basic analytics skills, so the understanding of data and the way data relates to and impacts an organization. So a business analyst should be that person who can speak the language of data, at least to an extent. I think I should mention that there are different branches of business analysis. So not all business analysts deal with data from a data analytics sense. Business analysis is not necessarily data analytics. So you don't have to be afraid if you're not a data-driven person. But it might be one of the things, it might be one of the skills that you would want to have at least some level of proficiency in if you're looking at business analysis as a career. How can you become a business analyst? At globalquals.com, Global Quals by TWIM Institute, we have a number of classes on business analysis, and we have them in different levels. We are an accredited center of BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, like I mentioned earlier, BCS being the British Computer Society. And so we have different courses in their pathway for certifying business analysts. There's a foundation course in business analysis. There's a practitioner course in business analysis practice, and so on. So you might want to have a look at the different things that we have to offer for would-be business analysts at globalquals.com. The final skill that we're going to talk about today is a very common one. It is so common that people often assume that it is no longer important or that that industry is saturated. But I would disagree. And what is that? That is digital marketing. Digital marketing. The role of a digital marketer is to market, and I'm sure you would agree with me that marketing is one of the oldest professions known to mankind. So digital marketing, the digital in it just means that you're making use of digital tools and digital technologies, but at the end of the day it is still marketing. It is still marketing. So digital marketing is always going to be relevant for as long as digital tools are relevant. Why is that? Because people have to sell. Companies have to sell. So digital marketing is a very essential and a very relevant skill, and there will always be demand for it, especially if your skill sets are higher than the typical ones out there. I would also like to say that the digital marketing value chain is quite wide. There are people who are making a killing on Facebook. There are people who are making so much just sitting down with Twitter. There are people who are making so much just making use of other social media like TikTok, like Instagram, and so many others. And there are people who are making use of the Google tools, the Google Analytics tools, and there are people who are into paid advertising. There are all those different technologies out there. They all have different rules. They can all be used differently, and they are all part of the digital marketing collective. So if you would like to become a digital marketer, you might want to get trained in it, and you might want to get some basic certifications. But I must mention that for all these skills, it's not just about getting trained and getting certified. It's about getting the right training and ensuring that you actually have the skills, that you actually understand how to do those things. Because in the world of tech, it's always about the ability to do. Certifications might get you some entry-level jobs and all of that, but at the end of the day, you need to be able to show that you can actually perform on the job, which for me is why you should look for bodies that are not so much into certifications that they ignore the training and the practicality of that training. And I can tell you that at globalquals.com, Global Quals by TWIM Institute, we try our best to ensure that your training is practical, that you actually know what you're doing, and that you're able to perform on all the listed roles. So head on to globalquals.com and you can enroll for our different offers. Like I said, Global Quals is a service by TWIM Institute. I run TWIM Institute, so you might get to see me in some of your classes. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to leave a comment. I hope to see you in my very next video. Bye for now.